Hey guys, hi everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Pramod. Good morning, Ankit. Good morning, everyone. Hi Arka. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Adil. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning, guys. Good morning, Said. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Tunde. Good morning. Good morning, Sadi. Good morning. Hello. Hi. Perfect. So I guess we can start in few minutes. Let's wait for other people to join because as of now I can see only 9 students here, which is not enough. So good morning, Sumit. Good morning, Pradnya. Good morning, Ankit. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. So let me put a message in our batch and then we can start our class. Okay. So I hope you have joined the class from the website only, right? So that your attendance will be marked automatically. As of now, by default, you would have been marked as but as you join the class, you will be updated with present after watching class, 5 to 10 minutes, right? So please make sure that you join the class only from website, okay? So today's class, we are going to discuss few very important things. We are going to revise a lot of concepts. Reason being, there are a lot of students which give me a minute. Let's okay, perfect. Okay, so in our today's class, we are going to have a discussion. We are going to revise a lot of things, and we are going to do the assignment that I have given you as a Pomodoro one. Reason being, we have already taken 4 to 5, I think more than that, like almost 6 to 7 classes of React, right? So I think if I go to our YouTube channel, so if I go to our YouTube channel, I think we have already taken how many classes? We have taken on this React 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 classes, right? So 8 classes we have taken of React. So it's very important for us to revise what we have discussed until now and try to understand, try to take everyone with us moving forward. Hello, Adil, Dar, Imad, Sumit, Manash, Shreyas, Akash. Good morning. Good morning. That's why what we are going to do in today's class, we are going to start a small project today, which is Pomodoro, the assignment that I have given you, because I have received a lot of messages on my WhatsApp, at least from 5 to 6 students. Sir, we are not able to build the logic, though we understood the topic, but unfortunately, we are not able to build the topic. Today, we will understand how to deploy a React.js project as well. Adil, don't worry about it. For that particular reason, I'm going to show you this project. It should not take more than 1 hour, and then we are going to start another very important hook of React for today's class, hopefully, and that is use reducer hook. But I can see as of now there are only 20 students here, which is absolutely not enough. So please ask your friends to join quickly. Sadi is asking that, sir, when will you be able to make a full website like Variable Verse? I will tell you one thing here. The website that I have created, for example, Variable Verse, it has taken me almost 4 to 5 days of working in backend as well as in front end. But for CSS, I have used Tailwind, a framework, you can see. But from the logical perspective, from the logical point of view, the concepts which we have discussed already inside our React and JavaScript, I have not gone out of that. So we have already discussed all of those topics. Yes, we have not discussed back and forth, but from the front end point of view, I think we have discussed most of the topics. Most of the topics. So I think you already have all the tools, Sadi, in your hand. The only thing is whether you are able to implement such tools properly, efficiently, or not. That's the only thing. So start creating, start working on an application. Although I will give you one or two, one project very soon. Ha! Anurag says website is not working properly. No, that might be the internet issue because it was working for me very well. It might take amount of time because we have not deployed it properly, on a paid platform. It's a free, but yes, do one thing. It will take time. No, we are not going to learn AWS. Okay, do we need? No, we don't. Pramod says same issue. Website is not working. Is website not working, guys? It will take some time. As I said, It is hosted on Render, so it might take some time, but I think it should be working. If it does not, no issues. We will. You can join the class. Let me know in the evening, and I will share the attendance link. Okay, let's start. Let's start the class. So let me quickly get the assignment link which we are supposed to create. Allow me a second only, and then we are going to start our class. Okay, it's working. It will take a little bit of time. That's the only thing. I have not deployed it. I will deploy it later on if I find it that it needs to be deployed. But as of now, since we are running only batch for 30 students, so there's no need, right? So for that, I don't think we need this website. So that's why I'm not going to host it as of now, deploy it for money. But later on, I will do it. Okay. So we are. It takes 5 to 6. No, no, no. That's not what should happen. It should take only one attempt to sign in. Okay, let's talk about the project now. Pay close attention here. Let's talk about the website later on. Okay. I'm not able to join. Let me do a quick check. So I think I have signed in few seconds back. I'm here. And if I click on join it now, so it opens up the link, right? So I can see myself here. Hey, hi. So I think it's working. But if it does not work, in that case, do let me know. Okay, so the project that we are going to work now, pay attention. Leave this website aside. Okay, I think 4 people have already handed the work in, so that's something that's something that I'm very happy about. But let's go here. Let's try to understand the project. Okay, see what is the approach when anyone gives you any assignment. The most important thing is to understand approach. There can be multiple approaches to solve a particular problem. I will tell you mine, and I think almost every single time, 90% of time, this approach has worked for me whenever I have received any assignment from any company. Okay, always start with your static design in the assignments, especially assignments. Later on, when you work on projects from the clients, in that case, you first of all already have a UI. So in that case, you can work in any way. But from the assignment perspective, whenever you receive assignment from any of the companies, in that particular case, complete the static of it first. Once you complete the static, then only move to the other application, to the other part of the application, which is add dynamicality in it. So let's go here and let's quickly try to create this web application, small web application that I actually have. So let me close this and let's go here and let's try to open up our batch, which is August 24th, React. And in this, we are going to discuss our Pomodoro application one. Please and please pay attention because you are going to get a lot of doubts resolved in today's session. Okay. Let me close this. Let me close this as well. Let me close this as well. And over here, we are quickly going to remove all of the code. And I'm going to simply create a component over the inside components with the name of pomodoro.js. Okay. So let me quickly create pomodoro.js RFC and React functional component. Come on, give me the suggestion. Perfectly fine. And let me import this Pomodoro one here. Perfect. So now, as I said, always and always, first of all, create the static design. Then think about the dynamicalities. Good morning, Smita. Good morning, Shubham. What is it that I need? According to the website that we have here, we are looking at 5 to 6 components, right? We have some timer here. We have some string here, 3 buttons, 2 input fields, and a button again. So that's what we are going to do. So I am simply going to go over here and simply going to create its design. Now, however you want, it's completely up to you, right? So let me create a div for the top container in which I will, as of now, put only h1 tag. And where I am simply going to display, what am I going to display? I am simply going to display over here the first timer. As of now, static design, so I will directly put 25. Then after that, again, another h1 in which by default it says work time. So let me put by default work time. Done. Moving forward, then we know according to the design, we are supposed to create over here buttons. So let me create a div for that particular thing. And over here, I will create button. Number 1 says start. We have 3 buttons, if I remember correctly. Number 2 says stop. And number 3 says reset. Done. So number 3 says reset. Perfectly fine. After that, we have another section of forms. So let me create another section over there in which I will simply go create a form. I don't need action as of now. So let me create a form in which we need 2 input fields, right? One input field is for the minutes. Another one is for the break. So I will simply go create an input. What has happened? So I'm going to go create an input tag in which type is not a text because those two are numbers. So I'm going to create number over here. Yes, I can add placeholder for better visibility, for better readability. So let me do that. So I will implement placeholder, which will say enter work time. Done. Perfectly fine. Followed by another control C, control V, another number. It will say enter break time. So we have created two input fields in this case. And now finally, I'm simply going to create one button. And for that button type will be submit. And we will have a value and that was set. And if I right now try to go to the terminal, you can clearly see we have actually completed our npm start over there. We can clearly say we have actually completed our, first of all, what is this called, the static design. Let's wait for a second. Let's wait for a second. And we have completed our static design, right? And we are done with that. Now we can implement some CSS on it. It's completely up to you. Completely put it in the center, implement proper CSS. I am not here to discuss CSS at this point of time. Later on in one of the classes, maybe I will teach you properly how to implement CSS, because right now it's more about understanding the logical part of it. Yes, remember one point: when you start creating projects at that point of time, create first initial projects with pure CSS and later on shift to a framework, because time is very valuable right now. But initially start using pure CSS to understand how things work. Do not directly start with framework if you're first time learning web development. Always start with pure CSS. Then later on, after 2 3 projects, you can shift to your framework, or maybe I will give you 1 or 2 classes on Tailwind CSS as well, because as I said, I use always Tailwind most of the projects or Material UI. Now, this is the project that I actually have, and let's divide our website into 2 parts. Now, it's about understanding the dynamic perspective of this web application. So, let me go here and let's try to understand one thing now, which is now what's the logic? What is the logic that we want to add? The first task should be whether you have a complete understanding of web application, the requirements that you are trying to create, whether you have a proper understanding of that. If you remember your requirements, you would say that when I click on start over here, this timer starts from top to bottom. It goes 25 colon 00 to 1459, then 1458, so on and so forth. It reaches 0. So, of course, it means this is dynamic in nature. Perfectly fine. And whenever we have something dynamic in nature inside React, what do? We use state. One point. Another thing is this string of this particular h1 tag is also dynamic in nature. Yes or no? It is work right now. It goes to break, then work, then break, then work. So it's dynamic in nature. Another thing, there are 2 input fields that we have here: work time and break time. To control them, we can define only one state, or we can define 2 states separately. It's completely up to us. But we have 2 states maximum for these 2 input fields. Done. After that, if you remember, these buttons were having functionality of enability and disability. By default, if you look at this page over there, by default this is disabled. But we also know it also has dynamicality. This enabled part has dynamicality. At one point it will be enabled and another point it will be disabled. So once you start writing these points, now you will automatically come up that how many states I need inside this web application. And that's what I will do. First of all, I will simply go start defining states. Constant. I told you yesterday, do one thing. Create. Don't, you cannot put directly time like this. You have to define seconds for it. But as of now, I know for 2 input fields, I will have 2 states. So let me create work duration for 2 input fields, comma, set work duration. So that's one for input field work, and I'm going to define a state, use state over there. It is going to be by default is equals to 25. Constant. Another thing, now over here another one will be break duration for another input field. So let me create break duration, comma, set my break duration is equals to my use state, like this. Done. So when I define a use state over there, For the second input field, I know over there by default, according to this image as well, initial value is 5. So we have defined two states. And I think everyone must have done at least until this much, right? After that, the approach that I told you yesterday, these two states are for two input fields, but we have to present it in this format. For that, I told you to divide this time into seconds and divide this time into seconds to their respective seconds. And for that, I will also define two states because they are also dynamic in nature. So I will simply say constant. Let me go define work second like this, comma, set my work second is equals to what is equals to use state over here, which is going to be equals to by default 25 minutes. 25 into 60 is anyone. 25 into 60 is 1200, so 1500, right? So it's going to be 1500 here. Done. After that, we have another thing which is constant my break second. So another one is that we have break second, comma, set my break second like this is equals to, and this is going to be equals to what? Use state. And by default, how many minutes do we have break? It's 5. So 5 converted into seconds is 300, right? Perfectly fine. So what's the difference between use? We have not discussed use reducer. Use reducer will be discussed later on in today's class. So once I discuss there, once I reach there, I will tell you the difference. Okay. I hope this makes sense. Am I clear? Am I clear? Do you understand why I need 4 states over here? These 2 states are for 2 input fields. You can define only one of them. But these 2 states are so that I can represent them in a proper format in the output. And all of these 4 are dynamic in nature, right? Now, one very important point before you reach anywhere, before you talk about here how start should work, the first and the most important thing is how do we create this format? The format 25:00. How do I create this? Do we all agree that if I divide by 1500, if I divide this 1500 by 60, the output is going to be 25 minutes? On the same time, if I divide this 1500 by 60, the remainder is going to be the number of seconds. We know that logic, right? Seconds divided by 16 gives minutes. Seconds divided by 16, the remainder is the remaining seconds that we have. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go here and I'm going to define a format specifier. So let me simply define a function and name that format specifier is equals to a function like this. It receives an argument which is going to be seconds over there. The seconds that I will pass to it as an argument. In one case, it's going to be the work second. In another case, it's going to be the break second. Tell me what is the approach. Because it's not about learning. We have done the learning part. It's about implementation right now. Tell me how do I convert? Although it has given you already the the logic here, but you tell me. How am I going to make sure that I will get this particular logic there? By simply converting the work second divided by 16, or by simply converting the seconds divided by 16, it will give me minutes. Divided by 16, remainder will be seconds. So that's what I'm going to even do over here as well. So let me define 2 variables at this point of time. Number 1 is let minute is equals to, I know the seconds it's going to receive as an argument. Those seconds, I will divide them by 60. But if I divide it by 16, 60 that I have, it will return me a number, right? Of course, it's going to return me a number. And will I be able to display that in the output? Maybe, maybe not. We will see that later on. But I know the seconds when I call this, whatever seconds I will pass it to as an argument, it is going to return me a minutes over here. We know that. Yes, I will implement later on mathematical more on it. We will do that later on. At this point of time, I will define another thing, which is second. So let seconds over there is equals to what? My seconds that I have modulus 60. Now, when I say modulus, what does that mean? What does that mean? Modulus 60, what does it mean? Quickly tell me. It means divide the seconds argument with 60 and whatever the remainder is, return me that. Perfectly fine. And finally, I will tell this function to return. Return in which logic? Return the minute, then colon, plus add colon in between, and then plus return second. Do you think it will return me the format in this now? because that's what I've told it. Hey, minute plus coulomb seconds. Yes, there are a lot of things that are missing right now in this function. I'm not talking about that. One by one, line by line, we are implementing the logic. So we have minute, then coulomb, then second. Perfectly fine. After that, over here, I will simply go inside this H1. Now let me remove this 25. And what I will do is I will simply call my function, which is going to be format specifier. So let me directly call my function, and that function is called format specifier. And by default, I will pass work second to it as an argument. What am I doing? I am by default passing work second as an argument, which means automatically the seconds is 1500. So it will return 25 and then 00. Let's see the output. So if I go here, what's the output? What is the output? The output is 25 colon 0. 0 because reminder is 0. Reminder is not 00. Reminder is 0. Similarly, if I go here, let me make work second as by default, let's say it's going to be equals to, let's say 10 seconds only. In this case, don't you think the time should not be this 0.166666? No. It should be 0100 colon 10 seconds. 00 colon 1 seconds. So even though we are able to implement the format, but unfortunately there are some mathematics that is missing. And what is that mathematics? The mathematics is, first of all, hey, whatever the output of this is, make it a perfect integer. So don't give me all those points. Simply make it a parseInt. Done. So please go and make a parseInt. Convert into a proper integer. Now, when I convert into a proper integer, now it is 0 colon 10. Now, do we think it should be 0 colon 10 or 00 colon 10? 00 colon 10. Let me change this and let me make this 9. Now, when I make it 9 over there, it should be 0 colon 09. 00 colon 09. And that's again missing. So we are simply able to conclude that some mathematics is actually missing over here. And for that, let me first of all go parse in this as well. What I will do is I will implement some mathematics. I will tell it very simply, hey, please check. What are we going to check? Check if the second dot length is length, length is equal to 1. If it is equals to 1, then please tell it to make my second over there. Tell this second, update the second with what? With 0. Then over here and combine to it my normal seconds. Done. So if you look at this right now, what I'm doing is I'm simply telling it that whenever it is equals to 1, at that point of time, update the same second and attach concatenate 0 with it. That's what I'm doing. Similarly, the same logic will go over here, which is my minute. If my minute dot length is equals to 1, update my minute over there is equals to 0 plus minute. Perfectly fine. Do we understand the logic? Yes or no? Give me a quick confirmation in the chat that whenever the length is 1, now when will be the length of minute 1? When will be the length of second 1? When seconds are from 0 to 9. If it is 2 digit, I don't have any issues. But as soon as my minute and length becomes of second and minute 1, in that case, attach 0 to it. Even after doing that, you can clearly see there's no change. Why is that? Why is that? Because right now, always remember one very important point. Length is a property which can be implemented on string or array. Is second right now a string or is it an array? It's a number right now because I am converting into a parseInt. So dot length does not make any sense. So you have to come up with a solution over here. That okay, I solved a problem, I understood a problem, I said that if length is equal to 0, concatenate 0 in front of it. But it's a number. So that is why we will tell it to convert this number into a string because we don't have any issues with that. As long as this is being properly rendered in the output, whether it stays number or it stays string, I don't care about that, right? Because I'm not going to implement logic on that later on. So I'm going to also convert this into string as well. Now I converted both of them strings and my format is exactly correct. Does it make sense? Does it make sense? Give me a quick confirmation. Quick confirmation. Everyone, I need a confirmation in the chat quickly. Why I converted into a string? Because you have to think of all the possibilities over here. Now, this entire project becomes piece of cake. Trust me. Trust me, this project is now a piece of cake. There was only one problem that you might have faced, which was format specifying. Now, it's very simple. How? You just have to find a way to actually make this time. By default, it's 1500. So when it's 1500, it will display 25 colon 00. But as soon as I make it 1499, it will be 2459. As soon as I make it 1498, it will be 2458. So it means now I don't have to change this time over there. The only thing is I have to change somehow these two things. If these two things are changed, automatically it will change the format in the output and it will look like a clock. Simple thing. I hope that makes sense. So let me at this point of time make it 1500 by default. Now moving forward. So the first milestone is achieved. The first milestone was to put the format specifier. Now, one very important point over here. If you look at this entire program, we have defined 4 states related to my what's this called time. But don't you think we have to connect these 2 states with their respective input fields by making the two-way state binding possible? So how am I going to do that? Simply, I will go and make the value here. Now, when I say value, what does it mean? Hey, please do one thing: make the work duration. Although is n missing. So let me see if n is missing. Yes, n is missing. Done. So value is this. After that, I will go here to this and tell it that value is what my break duration. So break duration is done also as well. Perfectly fine. Am I clear? Am I clear with this? Now, after that, what do I need? At this point of time, it's set to 25, but it will not allow me to type. It's set to 5. It will not allow me to type. So quickly revise the concept of controlled components. Controlled components. What do we do next? What do we do next? Controlled components. What do we do next? We have attached, made the value of the input fields, the states, respective states. What next? How do I make sure I am able to type over here? What's the attribute that I use? Anyone? What are controlled components? Give me an answer. It's a revision class. Tell me what's a controlled component. What is a controlled component? Quickly. Tell me what's a controlled component. Whenever we involve React's forms inside React component, there are 2 types of components that we deal with, which we have discussed. One is controlled component, another one is uncontrolled component. So tell me simply what controlled component is. Anyone? Come on, guys. I don't see anyone typing anything in the chat. What is the reason? Is there any lag? Which is controlled by states. Very good, Rohit. And which I have done here, I have made the state the value of that input field, but I'm not able to type over this. So I simply want that whenever I start writing a number over there, it should be allowed to type. Also, whatever I type, it should be made my state as well. It should update my state. So how do I do that? I have implement value attribute. What is the another event that I add here? We add on change event, right? So we add on change event. So in this on change event, I will simply pass a callback function like this, where I'm simply going to tell it to receive an argument E and then go over here and ask it to set my work duration with what? With E dot target dot value. Now it has updated the state like this. Done. After that, similarly over here to this input field, another, I will define an on change event. I will go here. I will define an on change event. And on this on change event, I will pass a callback function like this, and where I will simply tell it to update my break duration with E dot target dot value. Done. Perfectly fine. So what we have done is we have simply went here to make sure that it is going to update this input field with its respective value. It's going to update this input field with its respective state value, right? We captured it with the state. Done. Perfectly fine. Moving forward. Now, after this, what next? Now we need to talk about the functionalities, and I will give a simple approach. Whenever you have to now implement functionalities, because until now we did not implement any functionality, we simply change the format of it and we simply implemented connected states. That's it. Now, whenever you have to implement functionalities, the most authentic approach is to write down it with your pen on your copy, one by one, what you want. For example, you simply want, but when you click on this state button, at that point of time, this timer should start. Once this timer ends, then another timer should start, which should display break time over there. So by default, it is work time. When this 25 minutes timer ends, then after that, it should start break time, which is 5 minutes. This string should also change. It should be made break. So we all can conclude over here that this is also a state. So let me define state for this. So I will go say constant my type typ type, comma, set my type, then is equals to use state, and by default we know it is work time. Done. So by default, what is its work time? Now another point, another very important thing over here. I have made a state for this duration. Now, don't you think this timer depends on the type state? Because if the type is work, then pass this seconds to the format specifier. But on the other hand, if type later on becomes break, then in that case, in the h1 tag for the format specifier, send the break seconds. Good morning, Kamar. Good morning. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So you need to understand that this type is going to determine most of the logic inside this web application. If you look at it at this point of time, it will always be, even if you are able to implement the timer, this will always be work time. Why? Because we are sending work second. But of course, that's not what should happen over here. We have to make sure if the type is work, then only send the work second as an argument. Otherwise, send the break second as an argument. So that's what I'm going to do. I am going to remove this. What? I will tell it if my type is equals to work. If it is work, at that point of time, call my format specifier with an argument which is work second. Otherwise, go there and please call my format specifier with what? With the break second. With the break second. So we have actually implemented the first functionality, which is, since by default type is work, that's why it's displaying 25. But let me make it something else. Let me make it break. So if I make it break, you can clearly see now it's changed to 5. So changing between break time and work time, you have found a way. You can see you just have to change, update the type. So whenever this timer ends, update the type to break, it will be changed. And whenever vice versa happens, change it to work, it will be back to work. I hope that's completely clear. So let me make it by default to work. So depending on what work state is, what this type state is, we will get a proper timer. Depending on whether it's work, it will display work time. If it is break, it will display break time, because we are calling our this particular logic accordingly inside our h1 tag. Moving forward. Now after that, the another h1 tag is that over here in this h1, also determine it based on the type. So if the type is equals to work, in that particular case, do one thing, display work, otherwise display break. Done. And then say time. So over here it says work time by default. Now if I simply go update the state with break, change the state with break, it says break time. And also it changed the timer as well. So this is the first functionality that we are supposed to implement in this. That depending on the timer, it should display its own string, whether it's work or whether it's break. Perfectly fine. So this is also done. Is this done? Perfectly fine. It's done. Moving now forward. We are still creating the static design only. Although we have implemented some dynamicality in it, but I'm still trying to figure out this particular image. You can see there are two disabled buttons which I have not implemented right now. Now think about this. I have a simple question to ask here. Kamar, Adil, Anil, Ankit, Arka, Sayed, every single student must answer this. You can see both of these two buttons are right now disabled. Stop and reset. Later on, when I click on start button will be disabled. These two will be enabled. When I click on stop will be disabled and these two will be enabled. Do you think in order to manage enabling, disabling of these buttons, we need one state or two states? Think about it. We need one state or two states in order to enable or disable them. Anyone? Come on. We need one state or two states. Ramay says one. Anyone else? One. Very good. Very good. Anyone else? Darima says two. Very good. There's very good always to every answer as long as you are answering. 2, 1. We will understand whether we need one or two based on the functionalities always. If there are two buttons that are showing the same behavior, you will use only one state. But if there are multiple behaviors, then you will use multiple states. For example, do you think, and please answer in yes or no, do you think that this stop and reset button, whenever stop will be disabled, reset will be also disabled? Do you think when reset will be disabled, stop will be always disabled? Or do you think when start is disabled, stop will be, stop and reset will be disabled, enabled? Do you think all of them are at the same time disabled, at the same time enabled? No, we don't have that, right? Yes, there's one thing, which is start and stop depend on each other. If start is enabled, stop has to be disabled. If stop is enabled, start has to be disabled. Start and stop depend on each other because they are absolutely opposite logic of each other. But reset does not depend on them. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Start and stop, they definitely are depending on each other. Whenever it starts, stop has to be enabled, and so on and so forth. But reset is absolutely independent of these. That's why we need two states. So what we will do is we'll simply go here and we will define two states. Number one is you can name them whatever you want. So number one state is flag for start and stop. So set my flag is equals to, by default, I will make this state over there as true. Why? Reason being my start is false. Or you can make it anything. It's not like necessary you will make it true or false. It depends entirely on your logic. So let me even make it false. Who cares, right? It does not matter. Another one is reset flag, comma, set my reset flag is equals to, and I will simply define use state. By default, I will make it true. By default, I will make it true. Or you can make it anything else. It depends on your logic. It depends how you later on implement it. Now we can see this is false and this is true. Done. Now let's implement this functionality over here inside these three buttons. We have reset, we have start, stop, this. So let me go here, and to this button I will simply implement disabled, and by default I will make it disabled is equals to what? Disabled is equals to flag. So what am I doing over here? I'm simply making the start button disabled flag. Moving forward, then over here this disabled. So if the above one over here is flag, this has to be not flag. This has to be not flag because start and stop are vice versa of each other. Done. Later on, for the another button, similarly, we will have disabled, and this disabled has to be what? Disabled has to be my reset flag. So now these are connected. So I will go here, and you can clearly see right now, start over there is this, and stop and reset is like this. Perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. Because by default disabled is false, this becomes true, this becomes true. So this is enabled, these two are disabled. So right now we have actually concluded our static design. So whatever our static design was, that's exactly what we had here. Exactly what we had here. So you can see, you can match it. It's absolutely same 100%. Now it's time to implement the functionalities. Now let's talk about the functionality. What do you think functionality would be? What do you think functionality would be? How do we do this? How do we do this? We simply have to tell it that whenever I click on start, go there and decrease this time by -1, right? And whenever there's a change in work second, call it again, call it again, call it again. So until it reaches zero. After that, stop calling it. So somehow the logic is very simple, and I'm definitely expecting few answers. Logic says that when I click on start, at that point of time, it has to check few conditions, which is whether the work second is greater than zero, because only until then it has to update the decrease the time. If this work second becomes later on zero, do you think it has to do this? No, 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 no. It has to stop at that point of time. Okay, leave these conditions aside. Let's right now find a way to actually decrease the time only. That's what we want to do. Simply decrease. Later on we will talk about the conditions. But how do we do that? How do we do that? We have multiple ways. There can be multiple approaches. And do we have any hook inside React that calls the logic again based on the change in its dependency? Yes, that's what we will do. Count minus one. In this case, work second minus one. Do we have any hook that will keep calling this work second minus one, break second minus one, break second minus one until there's a change in the dependency? When the change stops, the logic stops. So we have use effect. Yes, we can use set interval as well. But set interval, for that we have to clear interval when work second becomes zero. So we have to do that as well. So we have use effect over here. So let me go here and let me simply implement use effect. And I will show you all of these. I can show you it one line of code, I mean in one go, but I will show you in step by steps. Number one is what I will do is I will simply tell it to start timer. Set my timeout. In this, sorry, what happened? Set timeout. So set my timeout, in which I will pass a call by function like this, where it's simply going to update my work second, the work second that I have, with work second minus one. Done. So update, keep updating it. And right now I'm not passing any timer to it. So of course it's going to work like this. But then I will pass it 1 second. And let's refresh the page. So if I refresh the page, it's 25. Now it starts the timer 24, 59, 24, 56, 24, so on and so forth. It works absolutely fine. How we wanted to find. So you will say, sir, is this the logic? Yes, it is the logic. This is what we are going to do. But there are a few things missing. First of all, let me pass a dependency, and that dependency is work second. Right? Number one dependency, because it depends on the work second. So it should change every single time. But now, when I implemented this logic that change work second after every second, it is working fine. But what if I will make once later on seconds will be 10 as well. Later on seconds will be 10. So it will go 9, then it will go 8, then it will go 7, then it will go 6, then it will go 5, then it will go 4, 3, 2, 1. But will it stop at 0? Will it stop at 0? No. It will not stop at 0. So we have to implement this validation now. Hey, this timer is supposed to stop somewhere, right? It has to stop somewhere. Now, what is that logic why it has to stop? When will it stop? When is it supposed to stop? Give me a quick confirmation. When my timer reaches 0. When my timer reaches 0. At that point of time, I have to tell it, don't decrease it. So instead of clearing the time out, instead of doing all of this logic, why don't I simply remove this entirely and pass a condition to it, which is until my work second is greater than 0, until then only do this. Right? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Until only do this. So this is 10, this is 9, 8. So until my work second is greater than 0, only until then keep calling the set timeout and change it based on the work second. You can see now it stops because now it has reached that state based on the condition. So we have solved this problem. Now the another very important point, and you will tell me the answer. I'm not going to tell you the answer, not even, there's no way I will tell you the answer. Now, when it reaches to 0, 0, 0, 0, what is it supposed to do? What is it supposed to do? It is supposed to change the timer from work time to break time. So over here, if work seconds become 0, 0, 0, 0, after that, go and start this timer of break and change this to break. But how do I do that? Start break time. Very good. How do I make that change? How do I make that change? How exactly? Think about it and tell me. Let me know. Over here, timer should be a break time, which means this should be executed. Over here, time, this should say break, it should be this should be executed. This one. This one should be executed. So how do I do that? I will simply tell it. Come on, anyone? How do I do that? No, no, no. No, there's a one-liner answer to it. Conditional rendering, I have already done that. You can see conditional rendering is already done, Pradnya. Conditional rendering is already done. So I have told it, set my work second. No, that's work second is already set to 300, right? Stop. Everyone stop. I don't know why you are thinking in a wrong way. I don't know why you are doing that. First of all, tell me one thing. How will I get break time over here displayed? How will I get break string displayed over here? How? Based on the logic of these two things. Tell me. Think about this logic, see this logic and tell me. Don't tell me, very good, Sayed, very good. Simply somehow, I have to make sure that somehow it changes the state of type to break. Simple answer. So it has to change the state of the type from work to break. And if I'm able to do that, of course the timer will automatically change. I don't know why you were thinking in a wrong way, because it's a very straightforward logic. That's the issue that you guys are doing. If in interviews as well, you think in a wrong way. Don't go there. See how in my output I have implemented the code. Don't you think I have told it to display the break second only when the type is not work? Similarly, display the break when the type is not work, and by default it's work. So somehow I have to make sure that when my work second reaches 0, then update my type to work. Break, sorry. Do you understand? Does it make any sense what I'm trying to say? Does it make any sense? Yes or no? Yes or no? Perfect. So that means I will simply go here and I will implement another if else. I will simply say if whenever my work second becomes is equals to 0, then in that particular case, please do one thing, set my type over there to break. So let's see, let's refresh the page. So when I refresh the page, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. Now when it happens, break time is this. Yes or no? Done? Perfectly fine. I hope this makes sense. So this is logic. This is how you have to implement it. It's very easy. The only thing that you're missing is you are not clear with your instructions, how the code has been implemented in your web application. If you remember that, it will work. Now after that, what is it supposed to do? What is it supposed to do? It's also supposed to implement some other condition. What is that? Now it is supposed to implement break second wala logic. So I will simply tell it, hey, do one thing. Similarly, I will say if my break second is greater than 0, then in that particular case, do one thing, call my set timeout. And over here in this, please execute a callback function where you will simply set your break second with break second -1 after every second. That's one thing. Then you can see this timer also starts. Now we are also going to implement one another if. So if then later on my break second, although let me not implement this because I need a question, I need an answer from you. Now let me make break second for your discussion 10 seconds also. So if I make it 10 seconds, you can see now work time starts. Okay. The logic is already implemented. When the work second is 0, set the type to break. So break timer will be displayed, right? So when it is displayed, it works like this. Perfectly fine. Wonderful. But now break time also stops. When break time stops, it has to go back to the work. How do I do that? When break time stops, when break time goes to 0, I want it to go back to the work time. How do I do that? How do I do that? And even right now, we can see When the work time stops, it immediately starts the break time, but break time is 0 0. Break time does not start. There are a lot of things. Very good, right? There's a lot of good things. It means that it does not know when to start this. It does not know when to start this. That's what's happening right now. Work time is properly starting, but as soon as work time is actually becoming 0, it changes the type to break and it makes it break time. But break time starts from 0 0 0 0. So what's happening over here? Because see what's happening. I will tell you what's happening. Why it says 0 0 0 0? Why? Because when this web application is rendered, when this web application is mounted, this timer will immediately start. Yes or no? Right? And let me pass another, what is this called? This is, well, break second. So I'm refreshing this page. As soon as application is mounted, we can say that work seconds timer immediately starts. Immediately. That's why it reaches 0. But why is break seconds also 0 colon 0 0? The reason is that this whole logic is executed immediately. When this whole logic is executed immediately, even though it displays only this one, because initially type is work, but in the behind the scenes it also executes this now, because break seconds by default initially is also 10, so it also starts this timer immediately. That's why you can see that if I make this 15, when the work time starts 10, on the same time break time is also becoming 7, break time is also becoming 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Break time is also behind the scenes changing, but right now break time is 5 seconds. Why? Because 10 seconds of break time has passed, now 5 seconds will start. Do you understand? Do you understand what's happening? So what's the solution to this? What is the solution to this? Somehow we have to add a check, and that check is that do not start this until the type becomes break. Until the type becomes break, do not change it. Do not start this timer. So that's why we have to implement one other condition. We will say control X. I will tell it if my flag is first of all true, because until flag is not true, this won't happen. So I will say simply if my flag is true, then and if my type over there is equals to break. When it is break at that point of time, then only start this. If my flag is true, which means the start button is running right now, then in that case, check whether the type is break, then only start the timer. And you can clearly see if I stop this. So you can see my work time starts perfectly fine. It goes 10 seconds. It will execute properly. But as soon as this work time is ended, it will check that if, first of all, when type becomes break, and then only it executes this. Am I clear? Am I clear, guys? Do we understand this? Yes, my break time is not starting, but we will figure it out as well. Why it's not changing? We will talk about that. Am I clear? Give me a quick confirmation in the chat. Am I clear? Give me a quick confirmation in the chat. Why is this not changing? Why is this timer not changing? Because flag by default is false. Since flag is false, that's why this condition is not true. It's not starting the timer. One thing. Similarly, it also means that I will also implement this condition in another if my flag is true and when the type is equals to work, then go there and implement this logic, then only implement this logic. We will. That's why I implemented flag now. Unless and until I don't make it true, then it won't stop. So I've made it dependent on flag Adil. That's the reason. Right now, why is my timer not automatically starting? The reason is flag is supposed to be true. And I will later on, and by default, since flag is false, I will tell it over there. When I click on this, then in that case, make the flag true. Do you understand? In this case, make the flag true. Even let me do that. So let me simply go here and I will simply say on click. On this on click, please call a function like this, in which you will simply set my flag over there, set the flag to be true. So now when I click on this, now it starts. It should start. Basically, it does not. Let's see why. So when I click on this, it sets the flag true. When it sets the flag true, the condition is Flag and type is equal. Am I missing anything? I'm missing something. Flag. Yes, I'm missing flag. So let me make flag, because why is it not starting? Because flag dependency is missing. Unless and until I don't put it as a dependency, it won't execute this code. Do you understand? So I have to implement flag dependency here as well. And is there anything else? Yes, there's a type dependency as well. So when I implement these dependencies, now whenever there's a change inside these, it's going to start. So let me refresh my page. Timer is by default not starting, but when I click on this, timer should start, and it starts. Why? Because there's a change in type. It executes this code again and checks it, and timer starts. Dependencies are very important. You might automatically get an idea of why use effect is too much important in React. I hope this makes sense. I hope this makes sense. There's one thing still missing. One thing is still missing at this point of time, which is right now when break time becomes 0000, I wanted work time to again start. So what do I need to do? You will say, sir, do one thing. Go here and implement another if, and tell it if my break second, already you gave this answer, I guess, is equals to 0. Then at that point of time, set my type over there to again break, so that it can navigate back. Perfectly fine. Very good. Let me make this a smaller timer. Let me make this 5 seconds, and let me make this also 5 seconds. So now if I refresh my page, click on start, 5, timer starts. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Done. Break time starts. 4, 3, 2, 1. Done. It goes back to work. But when it goes, even it does not go to back to work. Why? There might be some issues. We will check that. But at this point of time, it's not going back to work time. What's the reason behind that? Anyone? It does not go back to work, because I think both of these timers right now are 0. Yes, if you check right now, both of these timers right now has gone to 0. Second has become 0, also break has become 0. So I have to somehow tell it, then when these timers end, in the next iteration, start them from the very beginning again as well. Unless and until I don't put time there, how is it going to work, right? So that's something that we need to understand. So for that particular reason, what I will do is I will simply give an alert over here, first of all, that break time has ended. Then set the type to break, but also set my work second. Set my work second to 1500, right? Similarly, over there also do one thing, give a alert, and this alert over here is that break time has ended, and go over here, set my what is it I need to set over here? I set my break second back to what it was. So set my break second to back 300, because these two timers, when this will be executed, they will become 0. We have to restart it again now. So for that reason, I have to do this. So let me go here. It says set Bria. Where is Bria, by the way? Let me refresh the page. Start. Perfectly fine. It works. Another very important point over here, runs after every render. It will run after every render. Yes. Because dependencies are mentioned in that way only. So it is going to run after every render, no matter what, right? Because dependencies change. So break time has ended. Now it is starting the break time again. So we have to do the alternation. Now one alternation can be done here. You can see right now that even though our logic is absolutely correct, I have implemented this logic over here properly, but somehow there's a piece that's missing, which is actually there are these things missing, these flags and reset flags. I have not done that. So that's something that we need to take care of. That's something that we need to take care of. We need to make sure that all of these things are true. Now tell me one thing. Let me refresh this page. When I click on start, this button should be enabled, this button should be enabled, and I know at this point of time only this button is enabled, right? I know that. So I have to make sure that reset is also enabled. So that's why, for that reason, I will go here. Apart from set flag to true, I will tell it to set my reset flag to false, so that will be actually also properly working. So now when I click on this, both of these two are true. Done. Another thing is when stop happens, on that point of time, on click, go there, call a function like this, and go here. Now what is it supposed to do, guys? Anyone? It is supposed to make whenever I click on stop, start should be enabled, stop should be disabled, right? These two are very important. So that's why I will go here and I will tell it set my flag, in this case, to true, right? Stop, set my flag to false, actually, not true, right? Because false is above, so it has to be false. This is making it true, it has to be false. Another one is set my reset flag. Do we need to set the reset flag over here? Of course, right? So in top case, it's making it false. So over here also, it should make it false, right? Because reset flag works in that way only. So let me make it false over here. Done. So let's go here. Let's see if it works. So start. Done. So timer starts. Stop. Timer has to stop. Yes, timer stops as well. Done. Now reset. How does reset actually work? How does reset work? Reset means reset everything to its original position, whatever its original position is. That's what reset means. So when I click on reset, it is not just supposed to change a small flag, but it's supposed to call an entire reset operation on this whole web application. So let me simply go implement on click and tell it to handle what? Handle reset. So let me simply go here, define a function handle reset, like this. And let me define a function like this, like this, like this. What is it supposed to do, guys? It is supposed to refresh everything. Whenever we talk about handle reset, in this case, it's supposed to do entire thing. Not only that, we also have to do one other very important point. One other very important point, which we will do later on, which I have missed in between. You will tell me what that is. First of all, whenever this happens, set my work duration to the original point, which is 25, because reset means that, right? Then comma, set my break duration over here to 5. Done. And also set my type by default to work. That's what reset means, right? And flag was initially false, so let me set my flag to false as well. Done. And is there any other state that we have? Also break duration, work duration. So set my, although that's already done, but set my seconds. So break second is equals to 300. Also set my work second over there is equals to 1500. So these are some reset checks that I have to implement, and I think this is done. Also reset flag is missed, so let my reset flag to what is it? What is it by default? Reset flag is by default, anyone? By default it is, it's true. So let me make it true. So this is what we mean by reset operation. So when I refresh my page, I start this, it starts the timer. But when I click on reset, it resets it to this. Now there are some issues. Okay. Two timers are right now running. So let me refresh my page. So let me check this over here. Let me make it 1500 back. And let me make this 300 back. And let's refresh the page. Let's start. Timer starts properly. 24, 15. Everything is properly working. But there's a reset. Now when I click on reset, okay, there are two timers running. How do I change this? How do I make sure this works? How do I make sure this works? Anyone? You can see now there's an issue right now. There is an issue right now, and I'm missing something. You can see two timers are right now running. So let me refresh the page. When I click on reset, when I click on reset over there, it resets this. But also, this is not working. Something is missing. What is that? What is that? What am I missing? What am I missing? Tell me that. What is that? Two timers are running. Two timers are. So what should we do? What should we do? Anyone? Is there anything that's missing? Two timers are running. I don't know why. You tell me. Quickly. Think about it and let me know. Think about this and tell me, let me know. Even if I stop here, let me stop here. It should stop. It stops, and let me reset again. So when I reset it, now how many timers? Only one timer starts. So somehow something is missing here. So reset, will two timers start? Yes, two timers are running. What is that? Because of flag. Tell me, why am I missing? Why am I missing flag? Am I missing flag anywhere? What do you mean by because of flag? I don't know the answer. Honestly, I don't know why this is happening. So that's why I'm asking you. You will tell me the reason behind this. Set flag is set as string. Set flag is set as string. Very good. It is false. Very good. So it is false like this. So when set flag is set to false, now it should work properly. So reset. Perfect. So it is resetted. But reset, it should be resetted to this as well. This is why is this 2459? Because 300 break second is done. This is done. Break duration is 5. Work duration is. So absolutely this is correct. And why is it not stopping, resetting to entire thing? So start. Timer goes to this 24:59. Stop. Make it stop. It stops. Reset. Resetting. Perfect. It's working. So set flag was set as a string. That was the issue, right? So we have resolved that as well. Another thing we are missing. So I think we have made entire thing work right now. There's only one thing missing, which is what if I type over there 10 work time and this I will set 2 minutes. And when I click on set over there, it should set this web application, but it's not doing that right now. It's unfortunately not doing that. So what do I need to do in this case? I need to go here to my form and tell it on submit. So whenever I will submit this, please call a function called as handle submit. So we have to handle the submit form submission. So let me go define a function where I will define handle submit like this, and let me define it like this, in which the first thing that we will always do is we are always going to prevent the default nature of a function. So we are simply going to say e dot prevent default, number one thing, so that it won't refresh the whole page. So e dot prevent default, done. What's the second thing? Second thing is simply update my work second with work duration into 60. So set my work second is equals to work duration into 60. Done. Set my break second to break duration into 60. So these are the values that we were missing. And am I not calling handle submit? Handle submit. Okay, this is LE. So now if I go here, refresh the page. Now if I type over here, let's say 20 and let's say this 50. Usually that's what we do, right? We start working for 20 minutes, take a break of 50 minutes. That's what we do. And it's both of these things are done. So it means that we have made completely our Pomodoro work. And do you think it was difficult, guys? Do you think it was difficult to implement it? If you would have implemented without any help, trust me, you would have enjoyed this. Give me a quick feedback of this small project. It's a small revision which we discussed of state as well as effect hook. Why effect hook is important, I think you might have gotten a clear understanding of it. Why use effect is important depending on its dependencies. Why it's too much important. Also, not only that, we also might have understood the logic little bit JavaScript point of view as well. Not only that, we also understood how many, when there are a lot of states, how to deal with it. Keep every single thing in our mind. So if you start writing your instructions on a rough copy, it becomes a piece of cake. And I hope that all of you are going to submit this in the Google Classroom later on. Okay. So with this, we have completed the assignment. We have completed a small revision of React as well. Before we take a break of 10 minutes, number one thing, when we started React, a quick revision. When we started React, we started with the properties of React. Then we moved forward. We discussed how components are created. There were two ways which we discussed. Number one was functional components. Number two was class-based components. After that, in our functional components, we understood the concept of props. We understood what prop drilling is. We understood what children prop is, right? Then in class-based components, we discussed what are the lifecycle methods, whether we talk about in mounting phase, whether we talk about in updation phase, or whether we talk about in unmounting phase. We discussed that whenever we want to implement the same lifecycle methods in functional components, we use a concept of hooks. So in class-based component, we already have a state, we already have a lifecycle method embedded in it as a component which we import, from which we inherit our classes components. We have to implement such functionalities in functional components. We use hooks. One of the hooks for state is use state, which we discussed. We understood use state is a hook that returns two variables in an array. One variable will be state variable, another will be setter function with which we can simply update a state and trigger a re-rendering. Also, we understood that whenever we have to update a state, there are two ways. One way is we can directly pass a value. Another one is we can pass an updater function. And when we pass an updater function, we can update our state based on the previous state. Moving forward, after that, we discussed a use effect hook. In a use effect hook, we understood different dependencies. That when there is no dependency, in that case, use effect logic will be executed in mounting as well as in updation. If there's an empty dependency, in that particular case, what we do is we actually call the logic in mounting only. If there's a dependency with values, then it will be mounting, and whenever there's a change in those values, use effect logic will be executed, like in this case. After that, we discuss what control components are. So whenever we want to control our input field, whenever we want to control our forms using state, we have a logic of controlled components where we implement two-way state binding. After that, we discuss uncontrolled components, in which we discuss refs, how we expose a DOM node. We discussed forward refs. We discussed imperative handle. So all those methods were discussed in refs. And finally, we discussed, what did we discuss in our last class? Context API. In context API, we understood how data can be transferred from any component, provided if it is a child branch, we can directly transfer it. We understood that we have a we are avoiding prop drilling in this case. So this is mota. This is probably what we have discussed until now, and there are a lot of other things which we need to discuss. Okay, so this is a quick revision what we have discussed. So if you have missed any of these topics, please make sure you go back and watch a few of those videos. So we will take Redux. We will discuss at the end. Redux, of course. We there are a lot of things that are remaining. Let me tell you. Number one is React efficiency, in which we have to discuss use callback, use memo that is missing. We have to discuss what is called lazy loading, suspense. So all those things we have to discuss. Then after that, what is it that we are missing? React portals. We are missing with what is this called? React portals are one of the topics which we are missing. Then we are missing with Redux as well, in class-based components as well as in functional components, and maybe some other topics. So all these things, yes, with the project, yes. Okay, so let's take a break of 10 minutes at this point of time. And after that, we are going to learn one of the very important hooks of React, although not that much used in our projects, but we are still going to discuss it because it's one of the very good hooks which you can implement if you want, which is asked in an interview as well. And that is our use reducer hook. So do not even think of leaving the class. Stay here even in the break as well. And let's meet exactly after this timer ends. So see you guys after this time. Okay. Hey guys, I'm back. Hello everyone. Hi, good evening, good morning. Good morning, guys. So I guess we will start in 1 or 2 minutes. Let's wait for other people to join back. I can see only 20 students here. So I was working with the project groups yesterday, and I think we have assigned projects uh, to 7 groups, each group containing of 5 to 6 members or 7 members in between. And the sum was around 40 students. So it's like we have assigned groups to 40 to 42 students. But unfortunately, in classes, that's not the number that I usually see. So of course, from that as well, few of the students will be removed, and I will let you know in 1 or 2 days what the final projects are, when what the final project groups are, and we will start immediately working on few projects. Okay, perfect. I guess we can move ahead and we can start discussing our use reducer hook. When we talk about our React applications, it's very important for us to understand that we actually define state in a React application using multiple ways. It's not just we have use state and we are going to do, we are going to always use use state, although a lot of people always use use state in most of the cases. Like whenever I work with the application, I feel more comfortable around use state. Always, like even in variable verse, all the states which I have implemented or in other projects that which I have created, whenever I have worked with React, I have in most of the case, 95% cases use state. So you already have a proper tool to deal with a state. So you don't have to learn use reducer. Even a lot of people even do not know whether there's a hook in React which can deal with state in a better way other than use state. Okay, but still we are going to discuss it. Why? Because as I said, I teach most of the things, right? So I will go here and I will create a file with the name of reducer.js. Reducer.js. What do we need to do? We need to perform a particular operation. Okay, whatever that operation is, we need to perform dynamicality. Let's suppose we want to create a counter, maybe. So let me simply go here, and in this, what we can do is we want to create a counter that will perform multiple operations. But let's talk about what reducer first of all is. A reducer believes in actions. Okay, actions simply mean that the user are going to perform on a particular website. A click, a double click, or any other event a user can perform on a particular website. And React reducer says that based on the action, I am going to bring the dynamicality in the output and update the state. And that's what actually Redux says as well. That's why we say use reducer is a mini version of Redux library. How does the flow actually work in reducer? Always remember that the first thing that you are going to create is you are going to create view of your application. View means user interface. You will always start with user interface. From user interface, you are going to perform actions. Okay, so you will click on a button, you will perform any other action that you want to do. So from your user interface, reducer says that this is how I'm going to work. I have a view, I have a user interface, and on which you are going to perform actions. And in those actions, I will dispatch a particular data. In most of the cases, we pass objects, but we are going to dispatch an action, and in that action, we are going to send a payload. You can see some data, some payload. Okay, and based on what this payload is, this payload will be received by a function, and that function is called a reducer function. It's a pure function that we have. So from a user interface, I will play some actions, I will perform a click, I will do XYZ things. And those, when those clicks, I'm going to dispatch an object, I'm going to dispatch a payload. And based on whatever I am dispatching, that object will be received by a function called reducer. And then this reducer is going to be responsible for updating my state, which in turn is going to be responsible for updating my view, updating my user interface. So it's kind of a loop. It's kind of a loop. From user interface, you will perform an action, it will dispatch something that will update my state in reducer, That's going to update the state. It's going to be again reflected in the state. And that's how this cycle continuously goes on. Now, what's the syntax? Syntax is very simple. Exactly like, for example, if I want to define a counter, I will simply go define count state like this, comma, and then I will simply perform set count. And over here, I will simply tell it to use state. I again have the same logic over here for use reducer as well. But there's only one extra thing. So this is our use state logic. Now, use reducer says don't define logic, don't use state in your React. In order to deal with states, use reducer. Now you will say, sir, no, I will use state. Why am I going to use reducer? Use reducer itself gives the answer. I am going to help you manage state in a far better way. Also, I am going to help you manage state that are complex in nature. Okay. For example, I will go and I will define some state, maybe count over there, or I can define a state variable like this, and then I will another argument it receives is dispatch. So we don't have set count. You can name them anything, whatever you want, because it's array destructuring. You can put any names over here, and then I will simply use a reducer. Over here, it receives two arguments. Number one is initial data, which can be your object or it can be a directory value as well, whatever your state is. And second thing is a function. So it will be a reducer function. So let me define a reducer function over here. So constant reducer is equals to a function like this. Perfectly fine. So what is happening right now? In this case, I have updated the syntax. There's one extra thing, one change that's happening. Actually, two changes. Number one is a state variable. It's a state variable like count. It's also a state variable. So if you want to display it here, you can properly display it. Let me simply go say h1. In this h1, I would simply want to display count over there is equals to what? Is equals to state variable. So I don't have any issues with that. It's exactly same to use state. And let me go here and let me simply call my, what is this called? My reducer in this case. So if I call my reducer like this, it's properly going to work. Let me divide my script into two parts. Although right now, if I go here, it says, okay, so my 0 is not getting visible here. What is the reason? So we have use reducer 0 and reducer is equals to this. Since it's not working, we always have a better way. What is the better way? The better way is we will always debug using console. Console is the most important tool that you guys have. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to simply say console log my state. And let's see what it prints. So in the inspect, in the console, over here, it's a function. The state variable is a function. So it means I have actually messed up a little bit thing. The second value is the state variable. The first value can be a function. Okay. Simple debugging is too much easy in your React web application, in your JavaScript. Console your things. If it's not working, console, put consoles. Check at this point of time what was happening, at this point of time what's happening, and it will automatically answer you things, right? And we can clearly see our state variable is 0 displayed properly. So if I put it 10, you can clearly see it's 10 here. Done wonderfully, it's done. Perfectly fine. After that, now based on this particular scenario which I actually displayed here, we are supposed to perform actions from your user interface. So of course, for that we need user interface, right? So let me create button. It says at this point of time only increment. So what is it supposed to do? It's simply supposed to increment my state with 1, with 2, but I want to change this state. That's what I want. And on this on click, I will simply tell it to dispatch. Now what's going to dispatch? Dispatch this one. So second argument is a function with help of which I will dispatch a payload. I will dispatch a data that will be received by this reducer. Pay attention. Have a little bit of what is called patience. You will automatically understood this. So I will simply tell it, please dispatch. What are you going to dispatch? Dispatch anything, whatever you want. It's completely up to you. It's not like I have strict rules here. No. But usually in most of the cases, we dispatch objects. But let me not dispatch object. Let me say adfar. I want to dispatch a string, which is adfar. Which means whenever I will click on this, I am going to dispatch a string, which is adfar. And always remember, this is the function which is responsible for two things. Number one is returning a state. It will always return a state. No matter what, it will return a state. Number two is it will receive the action, which is dispatching. So it's going to receive this thing. So it receives two arguments. Number one is the state, number two is the action. And at this point of time, I will simply tell it to return what? Return my state, normal state that we have. But I want to console.log. So let me console. What I'm going to console my state, and then console.log. I am going to console my action. Let's see what these two things we have right now. And by default, we know the state that I actually have is 10. So why is this actually? Let me refresh the page. It is 0. Perfect. Right? Now let me refresh and go to inspect. If I go to inspect, if I go to console, right now when I click on increment, dispatch will be dispatched with the adfer string, reducer will be called. That's how use reducer works. As I said over here, you can see the this small line of statement here. Whenever from a user interface you will perform actions, unless you don't perform actions, reducer function won't be called. So this reducer is only called when you dispatch something. And what are you dispatching? In this case, adfer. So let's see. So when I click on this, you can clearly see I am dispatching adfer string. And then I am returning a state 0, which means I am telling it to update the state. But of course, I am updating it with the same value state. It's doing that. So if I simply say return, what is it going to return? Return hello. It always returns a state only. It cannot return anything else. It returns state. And I'm telling it return hello. In this case, let's refresh the page. And let me go here. And in this case, what am I going to do? I'm going to dispatch an action. When I dispatch an action, it's 0 and it updates my state with adfer. At that point of time, for that reducer, the state is 0, but it returned me an updated state, which is hello, and state is updated here. Right? But right now, I am not using any dispatch to determine what the state is going to be. But of course, I can do that. I can simply tell it over here, do one thing. Instead of this, I can tell it over here one small logic, because it's pure logic. If my action that this reducer function receives, if it is equals to what? If it is equals to adfer. In that particular case, please return. What are we going to return? Return state plus 1. Whatever at that point of state is plus 1. Otherwise, return me the normal state. So now when I go here, click on this, you can clearly see I am going to dispatch a string adfer. And if I click on this, you can clearly see it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Why? Because every single time I am dispatching adfer. So when it is this, when I'm dispatching adfer, it receives the adfer, and we can clearly see it updates my state with 1 every single time. So this use reducer have two things. Whatever use state had, it has that as well. But based on the action that I perform, I can send a payload as well. And that's the most important thing, which I will see now. As of now, I need a quick confirmation in the chat. Do we understand the basic functionality of how this works? And if you have not already liked the video, please make sure you like the video right now. Do we understand the basic working of use reducer hook? Give me a quick confirmation. Done? Perfectly fine. Moving forward. Now, similarly, I can go here and I can Control C, Control V this, and over here I can dispatch maybe Adil, let's suppose. Right? Now, when I dispatch Adil, it means I can add an else if here. So I will simply say else if. Else if what? If the action is equals to what? Is equals to Adil. In that particular case, please do one thing, return. Return what? Return state minus 1. Which means I will go here and I will add decrement over here. Now, based on the action, it's going to dispatch something. Now, whatever it dispatches, that will be received by the reducer function, and it returns the state accordingly. So if I go here, if I refresh my page, increment adds because I'm dispatching adfer, decrement decrements because I'm dispatching adil in this case. So now one another very important point, which is that do you think in most of the case I will keep state as the values directly? No. In use reducer, we use it when most of the time is when we use reducer, our initial state is an object, a complex state. This is not a complex state, it's a straightforward state. So we will not use reducer in this case. If it is an object containing multiple keys, for example, I will have count. Count is equals to 0. Then maybe I might have some other keys as well, but let's focus on count only. In this case, are these operations valid? No, these operations are not valid. Why? Because now state is an object and we cannot add 1 to an object. We cannot minus 1 to an object. We cannot return a state and then directly access it over here. No, it is no longer applicable. So that's why even over it says object is not a valid as a React child. So now to display it properly, I have to tell it state.count. So I'm displaying state.count over here, and we can see now properly zero being visible there. But now, instead of dispatching strings, which we usually do not do, we pass an object. In most of the cases, we pass an object. We don't pass normal strings. Where we can pass multiple things. Since it's an object, it can contain key value pairs. One of the key value pair can be type. Type colon is equals to, let's suppose it is increment. Then comma, I can pass another object, another key, whatever you want to name it. Payload is equals to 1000. Similarly, I can pass some other keys as well if I want. It's completely up to me. Then I will simply type. Type is equals to what? Type is equals to decrement. And then comma. I am going to simply create a payload. And in this payload, I'm simply going to pass what? 1000 again as well. Or I can pass whatever I want. It's completely up to me. Then I know now action is not adfer, or even instead of using if else, the better way of dealing with reducer is to use switch cases. So switch, or even before I do that, I want to console it. So console.log, I want to console my what is this called action. I want to console my action, and I want to console my state. And then I want to ask it to return directly normal state. So now if I go here and if I refresh my page, when I refresh my page, by default count is 0. So it's working. So when I click on this, you can see at that point of time, the action becomes the whole object. So whatever I am dispatching, that is the whole object. So type increment payload 1000. And when I click on this at that point of time, type decrement and payload 1 lakh rupees. So now what I can do is I can simply implement it based on the switch case. So I will implement a switch uh, control loop here, and I will tell it switch based on what the action dot type is, because I know action is an object that contains two key value pairs, type as well as payload. I will tell it case 1. Case 1 is if the type is increment. At that point of time, please go and tell it to return. What is it going to return? It's going to return over there updated state. What it always returns the state. Where I will simply tell it to update my count with what? Update my count with what? Action dot payload, like this. Then after that, another case is decrement, and in this case I will tell it to return. It always returns a state, so of course I can directly pass object. So I will simply say in this case count is equals to state, sorry, count is equals to action dot payload, like this. Let's add this point of time, keep action dot payload. Then I will add what I will add to it previous state. I will do that. Okay, state dot count plus action dot payload. We can do that later on. Okay, now after that, finally I will add a default case, and this default case I will tell it to normally return state. So now if I go here and if I refresh my page, if I click on this, at this point of time it becomes 1000. If I click on this, it becomes 1 lakh. So what am I trying to tell you? I am trying to tell you over there, now my state updation logic is already written only once. Now I just have to change the payload of this, and it will eventually change the application accordingly. So I can pass multiple key value pairs over in an action, and based on that I can update my state. That's what actually reducer is about. Now I can simply tell it over there, please update it with state dot count plus action dot payload. Similarly, state dot count plus minus action dot payload. And now if I go here, every single time when I click on this, it adds 1000 rupees. When I click on this, it subtracts 1 lakh. Not only that, I can simply go here and I can define one lot of other buttons as well. So control C, control V, control V. Over here, maybe decrement double times and increment double times. So I will simply say decrement over there double times and increment over there double times. And let me go do one other thing, which is that what I can do is I can change the text on the buttons as well. So it's going to be increment plus plus and decrement plus plus. Done? Perfectly fine. Now, of course, I have to define these switch cases. I have to design switch cases accordingly. So let me simply go here, paste these. And what I will do is I will simply go write increment and decrement. Done. In this case, the payload is going to be not equals to this, although let's keep it this and let's add decrement this much. Done. So now if I go here, if I simply click increment, it's adding 1000 only. Over it's decrementing 1 lakh. Over it's incrementing 1 lakh now, and over here it's decrementing 10 lakh now. Perfectly fine. So every single time, so the logic, the crux is very simple. The crux is that based on the action that I'm going to perform from the user interface, I am actually going to update the state. So from user interface to actions that will dispatch, it will be received to the reducer. Reducer will determine what will happen to state, and that will happen, that will be changed in the user interface. So it's a cycle that's happening. Even if I go over here, let us search Redux Thunk, and if I go here with GFG article, Geeks for Geeks article, you can see one of the images over there. This is exactly what's happening. This is what use reducer is, and this is exactly how Redux works as well. So use reducer is a mini version of Redux according to me. We have an action creator. Action creator means your buttons, they create actions. From them, we have actions that they dispatch those actions. Those actions are received by the reducers. Reducers return the state. So this diagram properly depicts what use reducer hook is. Now think of some other examples over here. Maybe I would want to create a simple use reducer application over here. So what I would want is I would simply want to define a button, and that button simply says red, Control C. It simply says Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V. Like suppose these many buttons. I will simply add blue here, and then I will simply add green here, and then I will simply add pink here, and then I will simply add yellow here, and then I will simply add what's another thing? Maybe I will add, give me another color, aqua. Done. Now what I would want is I would simply want that whenever I implement a click on any of these buttons, they should change the background of this entire app. So if I click on red, the red should be background, blue, green, pink, yellow, aqua. So what am I going to do? Of course, the answer lies in the actions that I perform. So when I click on red, dispatch red. When I click on blue, dispatch blue. When I click on green, dispatch green. And based on whatever action I am performing, I am dispatching a string over there or an object. And then based on that, I am actually receiving a proper argument. Am I clear? And reducer receives it, action, and returns me a proper state. So what I will do is I will simply go define a proper state, which is going to be equals to this dispatch, and then equals to use reducer. And in this case, we know number one is the reducer function. Number two is a state which will be color. Color by default is going to be equals to black. Or let's keep by default white. And let me go here. Let me define a reducer function. So function which is going to be equals to reducer like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. And we know it receives two arguments. Number one is the state. Number two is the action. So let me define action here. Now what am I going to do? I'm simply going to go here to this div. I will implement first of all the style property. Now when I implement style property, I will tell it the background color over here. Background color is equals to what? Is equals to the state dot color. Now I simply have to change this state every single time. It automatically implements the change. So if I simply say right now, let me close this console and let's divide my screen into two parts. If I implement pink over here, default, it should be pink. So is it pink? Yes, it is pink. So it's properly working. State is attached with the div that I have. Followed by that, now I will simply go here and I will simply add on click. Now on this on click, I will simply tell it, please call a function in which I am going to dispatch. Now, what am I going to dispatch? I am going to dispatch over there red. Now, I have one another very simple question. Okay. Remember when I discussed controlled components, over there I had 5 to 6 input fields. And every single input field will have on change event of its own. Now, in order to define 10 on changes, I have to perform a lot of work, but then I reduce it that a single function. And I call that same function everywhere. Now, can I do that here as well? In order to dispatch everywhere, I know that every single thing, every single button over there is performing the same task. The only thing is I am actually changing over there this text in it, nothing else. So can I do something like that? If I can, tell me how. In the meantime, let me write logic. Can I define only one function which will do all of this instead of dispatching these many times? Same thing. The syntax is same. Everything is same. So why do we write on click for these lot of places? We won't do that, of course, right? So you have to tell me what is the way. So I will pass pink in this case, and then over here I will simply go say on click, and then over here I will simply go like this, in which I will tell it to dispatch. What is it going to dispatch? Yellow in a string. And then over here I will simply pass on click, and in this on click I'm going to pass like this, which is going to dispatch. And dispatch what? Dispatch my aqua. I think yes, of course we can do it. We can do it in a far better way, always in a far better way. But tell me how. That's what my question is. Think of it and tell me. So in this case I will implement switch case or if else, however you want. So if my action is equals to red, in that particular case return. So I will go and I will tell it to, in this case, return. What is it going to return? It's going to return my object in which I will update my color over there is equals to, what's my color? My color is red. My color is equals to action, or I can simply say my color is equals to action. Switch case. No, I'm talking about functions. I'm not talking about switch at the above. I'm talking about reducing the logic here. Like you can see this on click, this on click, this on click, this on click, this on click. Every on click is same. So how do I make sure that I actually implement it in a far better way? Instead of defining these many functions, I want to reduce it. You understand what I'm trying to say? How do I do that? How do I do that? That is your homework, okay? So please implement it on your own and later on give me an answer to this. So we have these many else ifs. Another one is blue, another one is green. If it is green, in that case, make it green. If it's similarly, we can also implement this logic in a far better way as well. In a far better way. We can implement only one thing and it will do it. It will check based on the dispatch, whatever it's receiving as an argument, it's going to perform accordingly. We can solve this particular thing as well. So you have to give me those two answers. It's very easy. You just have to do a little bit of research on your own and try to solve it. So if you can, please let me know. Aqua and finally aqua. So I think with this, we should get a clear understanding of what use reducer hook is. So based on action, we are updating our state. It means there's no benefit to use reducer because the same we can do. Exactly. Of course, we can do the same thing with this use reducer as well. But it's actually about complexity of a state. At this point of time, I'm using only one state. But if you increase the complexity of a state, use reducer becomes very easy. Also, why do we use Redux? Even though Redux is also state management, we can do the same thing with use state, right? That's not a argument that we can put forward that it is same as use state. So why do we have it? The reason is because it makes our things easy when we deal with big web applications. When there are a lot of states which we want to deal with, and in that particular case, what we actually do is we use Redux or use reducer. Use map. Map is an array function. Do we have array over here, Adil? Do we have array anywhere? No, we don't have array, right? So this is probably what the use reducer hook is. There's only one homework that I'm going to give you, which is the same function. The same function, I want you to reduce the lines of code. So at this point of time, the lines of code is 31. I want you to make it 20 or 10 or 15, something like that. Sir, in Redux, we can do. There's a concept of transferring data from child to parent. It's called state uplifting. There's no other way. With state uplifting, we can lift a state from child to parent, which we will eventually see. So is your homework, guys, clear? That your homework is that you are going to reduce this line of code into 10 or 15 lines of code. Do not use Chat GPT. You can use Google, but not Chat GPT. You can directly paste this code and tell it, hey, reduce this. This is what I want, and it will give you an answer. That's not what I want. Even over there, Govin in Redux, although we have not discussed Redux, so I don't know why we are doing this discussion. But even if you know Redux and if you think we can send data anywhere, you cannot send data anywhere unless and until you give your Redux access to the that branch. We usually give Redux access to the app.js. Since we put app.js in the Redux, in that's why we are able to send anywhere. So if you don't make that branch child to Redux, it's not going to work. You cannot send from anywhere to anywhere. No. You have to, similar to context API, if you remember in our yesterday's class, we gave the access of our branch app.js to the entire application. Then it worked. Similarly, in Redux also we give the access of the entire application to the Redux. Then only we are able to transfer. Even over there, it's state one-way data binding. One-way data binding is always there. We transfer data from child to parent only when we do state uplifting. Can you show the application of use reducer in an application like Amazon? How do we create Amazon application? Like, do you ask me to? Are you asking me like, sir, can we create a good project in which we are going to implement use reducer? As I said, let us complete the conceptual data, practical data as of now, how to implement things. We are going to create lot of projects, even good projects, big projects, and that's a promise from my side. Like there will be authentication, authorization, e-commerce features. We will implement role-based access control systems. We will implement microservices. We will implement databases. We will create a proper front end. At least 3 projects will be created like that. We will have a complete 1 month, 2 months for that. So don't worry about it. I don't. Whenever anyone asks me a DSA question, Govin, I directly tell them I don't know DSA. I know DSA, but not up to that mark. If they are good, then they can continue the interview. If not, I leave. Because I'm a front end developer, I'm a MERN developer, I don't deal with data structures that much. Okay. Do we have any questions before we close our session? And one important thing, unfortunately, today's class, I'm not happy. Why? Because most of the times, there were only 22 students. Exactly, Anil. That is the plan. That is the plan. Like the Pomodoro application, you are not going to put that in your resume. It was just to give a revision, right? But we will create big projects, like variable verse kind of project, like e-commerce, Spotify kind of projects. No. Companies definitely take you if you have good projects on your resume. But you should have a basic understanding of what DSA is. Like at least basic DSA should be very clear. I think Addance is already marked on the website, right? Our website is not working. I think its backend has broken because maybe it's not used to that much of traffic. Maybe 20, 30, 40 students have joined it. So in that case, let me send the Addance link. If it's not working, in that case, let me send the Addance link. Allow me a second. Where is Addance link? Addance link. Shreya says it's working. In that case, if it is working, then check it. I received a WhatsApp message. It's not working. I'm not sure why. And it's done on website, then in that case, there's no need. Pramod, please log into website and join the class. The link is active for next 24 hours. So you can mark attendance in any time. Sir, I'm in third year. We will be able to make project before coming to fourth. Of course. You have to create. You have a good amount of time, Govind. If you have good amount of time, 1 year in your degree, then definitely please do one thing: create good projects. Website's working fine. Perfect. Pradnya, in that case, join again. Okay. If like I know you are present, so what you can do is you can join the class again, keep the class active for 5 to 10 minutes, you will be marked present. Okay. Pramod says here it's not working, but sir, I don't know which project I should make. For that, we have a project group now. I will give you projects. Don't worry about it. Showing white screen. I think that's a network issue. I don't think it's any other issue that we have. Guys, can you give me a confirmation whether the website is working or not? working? So if it is working, then please change the network, Pramod, or change the browser. For me, it's working. Perfect, it's working. Great. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. I think we are good with our today's class. I'm going to launch an assignment very soon on Context API, and that's going to use good amount of state. Probably I will launch an assignment on Tuesday. Make sure you attempt it, and if you are not able to attempt it later on, we will do the project in one of the classes. Okay. Uh, and also one very important point, which is that unfortunately the response is not that much of good. Right, I can see 33 students here only right now because they think that I'm going to share an advanced link. Right, that's why they are here. Next.js, I will have a one class on Next.js. Don't worry about it. That is already in the plan. Not opening, sir. Tab is not opening. In that case, uh, please do one thing. Remind me on my WhatsApp. I will mark you present in the database directly. Okay. Thank you guys. Bye everyone. See you in the next class. That's on Saturday, hopefully. Until then, please make sure you practice, you do the assignment. And I have already shown you assignment in today's class. Submit the assignment and trust me, MongoDB will be also done, of course. Trust me, if you don't submit the assignment, you won't be part of the project groups. Does not matter how much attendance you have. No, Amazon does not use React, Ramesh. Amazon is not a React application, right? So submitting assignment is very mandatory. If you submit the assignment, even though I have given you a solution, you now have to create it only. So create it, watch the video again, and submit it. And of course, you will be part of the project groups. But if you don't, you are not part of the project groups. Doesn't matter how much guidance you have. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. Bye, everyone. Good night. So I think we should go for the project to learn. Of course, that's what I'm planning to do, Anil. Okay. Thank you, guys. Bye, everyone. Have a great day ahead. See you in the next class. That's on Saturday. Bye. Good night.